some things. I have to talk to him about this. All right. Okay. So we seem to be starting. Let's get some people in. Welcome to anyone who's here. Give it a minute. Just have to check some other things to make sure they're working on the back end. Nope. Did not want to do that. Video, so I can just end this. Alright. Alright. Hopefully we'll get some more people in, but welcome to anyone who's here. Alright. My name is David. This is Fresh Faces New Ideas. If you like the channel, please follow here. You can also find more of my stuff at Fresh Faces New Ideas on YouTube and Faces Ideas at Twitter. So there's that. We'll also, hold on, let me just put this. We also now have a Discord link. Copy this link. So if you that was pretty graciously set up by I'm Not Boosted. He helped me set this up, so follow that so we can chat offline and stuff. But we'll get started in a second. We got a decent amount of stuff to talk about. A lot of it is hyperbolic, and then we're gonna do we're gonna cover. I know I had a guest talk about somebody on yesterday was asking me about what was going on in Morocco. I've looked into that very, very briefly. We're just going to go over the overview of that, and then in another stream, if people are more interested, I'll look into what's going on there. We also have, let's see what else. Oh yes, the true biggest threat to the country is very scary. It's a terrible thing that Joe Biden has caused. We must talk about it and make sure that everyone knows that this is the biggest true big threat to the country. And then hold on, let me check one more thing. Okay, all right, so I have to go up. All right, I'm gonna have to talk to him about this at some point. But yeah, all right. Yeah, it's really not super much. Hi, APV. Welcome back. Let's see. Like I said, the Discord link is posted. We're gonna start using that more. I might have more. I might have an interview coming up later in the week. But having people attached to the Discord, we can chat things offline. They'll be able to have actual people have discussions and see what they want to talk about. We can actually debate things on that. I think you can debate it within that own Discord, so that'll be interesting. But for everyone who's coming in, my name is David. This is Fresh Faces New Ideas. Please feel free to follow. You can find me on YouTube at Fresh Faces New Ideas, and you can find me on Twitter at Faces Ideas. So for this one, part of what we're doing is kind of killing the clock a little bit for a vote. So like we talked about a little bit yesterday, the commission for the January 6th commission legislation has been agreed on in principle between the lead Republican who's in charge of this. I think it's John Katko. Is that who his name is? Hold on. Katko. GOP. Keiko. What is this? John Keiko. So he is the representative for the Republicans who helped create this this legislation, and he has been summarily thrown under the bus. Like we talked about, we're going to go over the legislation again just to point out how absurd some of these arguments against it are, and because now Mitch McConnell about an hour ago came out against it, and then we have some other people who come out against it. So we're gonna go over that, why potentially they would come out against it, and what that could mean for the legislation moving forward. And then we'll go over. There's a Jubilee video that's out. It's a little bit older, but I haven't really watched any of these, so I'm gonna watch it and we'll go over it. I think I'll do more of them in the future as they get more interesting. But as it stands right now, just nice and easy, simple stream. We're gonna keep streaming generally around this time. Today's a little earlier than it was yesterday, but we'll see. This is about 12:31ish. Will be about when we get into this. So hopefully more people will pop in, and then we'll continue. So let's get started. So somebody asked me about what's going on in Spain. So apparently 8,000 migrants moved from Morocco to Spain, and they literally just swam around this fence, is my understanding. Now, I don't have a lot of the backstory to what would have caused something like this, but it is interesting that there's this mass migration thing happened, and people kind of freaking out about it. I don't know enough of the backstory. I know somebody asked me if I knew about this. If there's people more interested in it and express that, I'll look into it more to discuss it more. But I know that Spain was having some type of dispute with. It might have been Morocco. This was a year or two ago about independence. But we'll see. I have not. This was not on any news network that I saw. Speaking of news networks, for today, President Biden just wrapped up his speech to the Coast Guard, and currently Fox News wasn't covering it. They were at the tail end of the Faulkner Focus. They were talking about his comments yesterday when he was at the he got to preview the Ford truck. That's the new electric Ford truck, and apparently he made a joke about running over a reporter. I think I remember seeing it. He said, I can't take any more questions unless you're gonna hop on the hood. And then he did the test drive, and apparently they were arguing that was against the press or something. And then they were then currently, instead of covering the speech, which they covered every Donald Trump speech no matter what it was, they were talking about, with no sense of irony, they were discussing the implications into Microsoft apparently having a lot of sexual harassment issues. I'm gonna cover the Bill Gates stuff another time. Maybe I'll do that on a weekend stream. But right now it's not a huge thing that I've looked at for for stuff, but we'll see. So let's. I mean, that was basically all I have for the Morocco stuff because I don't have enough of a background to have looked into it, and I haven't really spent a lot of time talking about it. So let's go to the next one. So this is the true biggest issue facing our times. Chick-fil-A is facing a sauce shortage. Now, I haven't been to a Chick-fil-A in a long time because they're not really around me. I think there's one in the city, and that's like the closest one. And if I do remember, is Chick-fil-A the one? Chick-fil-A. Gay conversion therapy. Yeah. Okay, they were the ones who used to have like serious recently, like within the last like couple of years. They're the ones who had the recent LGBTQ stance. They were very against gay people. So basically, what's happened is because we were in a global pandemic, supply chains for all types of things have been screwed up, and one of the things have been the Chick-fil-A food sauce shortage was one of them. So they are having a hard time keeping their supply up. So basically, they're going to limit what people get. So obviously, this is food restaurants have been hit especially hard in recent months with both the labor shortage and supply chain issue. The labor shortage is because they pay their employees crap. And then people don't want to work for tip wages is something like $2.13 is the minimum wage for tip workers. So there's that. That's not like obviously people aren't going to want to work for that. That's one of the things that's going to happen from this pandemic is people are going to realize like what jobs are not going to be effective because they pay so little. Fried chicken wars are putting a strain on the poultry population. Major chains, including are paying KFC, Buffalo Wild Wings, and Wingstop are paying steep prices for chicken. Suppliers are having trouble keeping up with demands. So yeah, there might be a fried chicken shortage. Chick-fil-A said it's fine with that, but their sauce is down. So obviously, the person responsible is Joe Biden. Chick-fil-A sausage blamed on Joe Biden's America. This is from Fox News. And the reason I picked the Fox News article instead of a different one is because they have a whole bunch of different just Republicans and people getting mad at Joe Biden. Now, keep in mind, this has nothing to do with Joe Biden. Similar to the gas shortage that happened, and I say gas shortage in quotes because we weren't actually going to run out of gas. It was basically fear buying that caused people to run out of gas. What happened with the gas is always worth mentioning over and over and over again, is that a massive corporation that produces 45% of the energy for the Eastern Seaboard got hacked because they didn't have their cybersecurity set up. And because they didn't have their cybersecurity set up, they were unable to truly protect themselves, and they got hacked, and that created a fuel shortage for fears of one. We still had plenty in reserves and stuff, and people got scared. They got scared because people kept telling them, oh, we're going to run out of gas forever. One of Tucker Carlson's lines was, they're just going to shut down gas stations forever. Now, keep in mind, Tucker Carlson has said some truly crazy things. As you remember, most famously, he said they're going to force everybody to drink Starbucks. And I'll have you know, I have not drank at Starbucks once since Joe Biden has come to office, and I'm clearly not under arrest. So that, among plenty of the other Tucker things, is just ridiculous. So, this is Eric Schmidt. I think this is just a random person complaining that this is saying Joe Biden's America. Ted Cruz is saying Joe Biden is destroying America because somehow this is his fault. Laura Boebert with a picture of the sauces. There's no limit to how awful Joe Biden's America could be. This is the correct response to it. I don't want anyone to panic, but Chick-fil-A has started rationing its sources. Now the world is ending, which is basically the response from the Republicans. So has a limited sauces because of supply chains issues, which is correct. Gas stations are having mass shortages and prices are soaring because of the mass shortages, which have nothing to do with Joe Biden. Price of groceries are skyrocketing, but this is all because of global. Oh, you're back, Dark Totes. Explain to me how it is Joe Biden's fault that a private company got hacked because they didn't secure themselves, and then people ran up a scare about the oil, and that's why people overbought gas. And then global supply chains that are just starting to come back after having been shut down because of a global pandemic are directly tied to Joe Biden. None of his policies have done anything to this. The whole point of this is that they are freaking out over nothing. And the reason they're doing this is because they don't have any policies that will make things better. Their current argument has been to the Democrats is that if you want to cut, I don't see how he's failed. What has happened? Has he not keep our currency protected? The dollar hasn't lost value. No, it's not. His main job is not to keep oil under control. But the oil thing, once again, has nothing to do with him. It has to do with the private company. And if anything, this is an advocacy for green energy. Because then when you have a company that doesn't care about protecting itself, and it has such no. I've made it very clear that this is not a government issue. It would be, I wouldn't be blaming Trump for this in the same way that, like, you can't control everything. Although what he was doing in where did he pull out of? Was it Syria where he pulled our troops out because they just want to protect the oil? I'm pretty sure that constitutes as a war crime. Yeah, actually, you're right. It does have nothing to do with it. Because if you look at what the Keystone Pipeline actually does, it has nothing to do with transferring that type of gas. It actually transfers crude oil to other places. It does not produce this type of gas that's required to go to the gas stations that the Colonial Pipeline shut down. So yeah, the Keystone Pipeline has nothing to do with the Colonial Pipeline shutdown. A lot of things are going to inflate because they're coming back. Yeah, and it has nothing else to do with which is what the Colonial Pipeline does. The Colonial Pipeline sends refined oil down to the states. And even if, all right, so let's say that the Keystone Pipeline was working. You know what? It wouldn't matter because Colonial still collapsed, and they couldn't send their oil through anybody. So it all comes down to Colonial. In fact, if we had more green energy, we wouldn't have relied so heavily on this one company. And in fact, it looks like green energy is going to have a massive boost with the Ford F-150 truck that appears to be fantastic. So hold on one second. Just want to check something. All right, so let's go back to the Chick-fil-A thing. This is all just dumb. But the problem is who's responding to this. This is the Oklahoma governor saying this. Chick-fil-A is a sauce shortage, and you want to know why? Because of Joe Biden's radical liberal policies. Gas stations are having mass shortages. Gas prices are soaring. So when they say gas prices are soaring, look, first off, we do have access to green energy. They're currently going to build a wind farm, and that'll take 2 years, and it will produce about 10 times more than what they have. If anything, as we shift away from gas, we should shift away to nuclear because it's more efficient than gas. We're not going to just turn them off overnight. That is an absurd strawman argument. That's not how it works. We have to start investing in it now because it's going to be the future. And by not investing in it, we're going to put ourselves at a competitive disadvantage. And that's how we're going to cost more. No. First off, the argument for who's getting rid of their jobs that's not a correct argument because the jobs aren't going away coming back anyway. Mining jobs aren't coming back. They know this. The people in those industries know this. You create more jobs in the green energy sector than you do in the gas sector. And the other way you can do this is by shifting the subsidies that produce the gas companies. The gas companies have the largest subsidies. They've been subsidized the longest in the country. If they can't function without them, it doesn't make sense to keep producing them. We should be using those subsidies on other jobs that are going to be better for the future. No. No, it wasn't going to. No. That's not how the Keystone Pipeline works. It's not 40,000 jobs. It was 50 jobs permanently. And it was 40,000 jobs to build it, and then it was 50 jobs permanently. And immediately after completion, this pipeline started to become an ecological disaster. Immediately. It would create way more jobs in green energy than it would in oil. So look, the problem here is that these companies, or not these companies, these governors. What news do I watch? I watch the actual news. I don't just watch Fox. And also if you're arguing about, well, how do we protect these people? We take the subsidy money. What news sources? A whole bunch of them. CNN, MSNBC, different posts, the New York Times. There's plenty. Look, you can look into this. I have. Hold on. Give me a second. I have a video on this exact topic. Maybe it was let me see if I can find exactly where it is. All right, give me 1 second to find all this. I'm sure you're still complaining about something. Oh my God! Listen. I also have a video of this. If you're arguing that Project Veritas is a legitimate news source, you have no idea what you're talking about. Project Veritas is known for being dishonest. That's literally their argument. There's a reason James O'Keefe keeps getting sued. Their whole thing. No, look, you're wrong. Project Veritas is not a good news source. They're not a real source. Yeah, of course I'm not going to watch it. They actually argue they're not right. CNN is way more real than Project Veritas. Hold on, let me find the video I did on that. Over CPAC schedule. Damn it. Maybe I don't. Maybe it's in one of the live streams. Yeah, I think it might be one of my live streams. Wage Cuomo. Oh, okay. Yeah, so here is... that is the... Go watch this video. I break over how... No, I'm telling you that Project Veritas deceptively edits the things that they do. They've admitted it. They did it. So, do you also believe that Ilhan Omar got her stuff illegally, or that she voted illegally? That there was voter fraud in hers? They've admitted these things. They're full of shit. Anyway. It is a cool story. I based it up with facts. You're just making a statement. Project Veritas is known to. I mean, I bet you also believe in Jacob Wall, right? All right. Anyway, look, the fact that this is the argument is ridiculous. So now we're gonna move on to the Oh, okay. Hold on. You're telling me that the CNN person has charges, or are you talking about the Ilhan Omar thing? Because I don't think you're right on either of those. Anyway, so look, we're going to talk about the January 6th Commission. Now, here's the thing. Mitch McConnell has just come out and said against it. And the reason we're talking about this particular part of it first is because Mitch McConnell's opposition to it means that it is less likely to pass in the Senate. It's probably going to pass in the House, what, depending on how many Republicans there are, is different. I don't actually watch Don Lemon. But I actually follow up a lot of what is going on with other sources. I fact check my other sources. But I'm glad you love me. I have interesting thoughts about you too. But look, so in order to get this legislation passed, this particular legislation, we're going to need 10 Republicans. In theory, we're going to have at least these 7. Burr, Cassidy, Collins, Murkowski, Romney, Ben Sass, and Pat Toomey. Those are the 7 who voted to impeach Trump the second time. Now, what this legislation does, let's look at what the legislation is. The structure of the commission is almost exact replica of the 9/11 Commission. Both bodies consist of 10 members, 5 selected by Democrats and 5 by Republicans. Interesting, the president appointed the 9/11 Commission chair. The Speaker of the House and the Senate Majority Leader are jointly picking the January 6th Commission. So Joe Biden is not even part of this. Mitt Romney's not up till 24, I think, and this is just to look into what happened. So let's be clear about this. The reason they're going to push, is it 2022? I thought he just won in. Didn't he just win it? Oh, he won in 18. It's a. No, those are the senators. Yeah, but just because they're not gonna remove him from that, he has to lose in the election, and I think his term isn't up till 24 because it's a 6-year term for a senator. You're thinking the 10 people in the House. They're the ones who would face election in 22. I don't think all of these senators are. Right, but I think he. When does Mitt Romney go up to? Mitt Romney re-election. It's 24. Term ends in 2025, so he goes up for election in 24 because he was just in 18. But here's this thing: if they don't get 3 more Republicans, then this bill will not pass, and they will not create this commission. This commission is designed to look into what happened. Now, the president doesn't have any say on who's in this commission. It is equal sides. There's an equal number of people on the commission. They can't be current members of the government. They can't issue subpoenas unless they have a majority or the leading chair and then the co-chair decide on it. So there is no reason to oppose this unless you don't want to see what actually happened on the 6th. It's as simple as that. If you don't want to see what happened on the 6th, then you won't be able to. Then you would oppose this. Because the reason you would oppose this is because your constituents don't believe the lies more than what happened. It's something like 60% of Republicans believe that the violence caused on January 6th was by left-wing violence designed to make Trump look bad. Most of them don't believe he had anything to do with it. But the problem is that it was a failure. But just because it was a failure, it doesn't mean it wasn't an insurrection. Like you see when you have a failed coup, it's still an attempted coup. Just because it's a failure. We had the one they had that one in Turkey in, was it 20? Or it was around 2016. No, a real insurrection doesn't have to have guns. It just has to attempt to overthrow the government. And that's what they were doing. They were attempting to stop the peaceful transfer of power that would have caused the transfer of government. And that's what they were doing. They were attempting to stop government from functioning in the way that it was. So, look, this is the subpoena. But this is the important thing, is McConnell. So, what happened, McConnell voted against his impeachment. And the reason he said it was because that he said a former president cannot face trial in the Senate. The reason Donald Trump did not face a trial in the Senate is because Mitch McConnell refused to bring it to the floor. So he just didn't start the process while he was in charge, while Donald Trump was still president. So his argument was, because I blocked this, you can't hold me accountable. But then he said he didn't get away with anything. Let's see if I can find his exact quote. Trump's actions surrounding the attack on Congress were disgraceful dereliction of duty. He even though he remains subject to the country's criminal and civil wars. But the only way we're going to get these type of things is through the investigation. Let's see if I can find out. So, look, McConnell said it's Trump's fault. That's exactly what he said. He said it's Trump's fault that this happened. And then he said this today. So this is him speaking. I haven't actually seen all of this. I caught a glimpse of it. Oh, you know what? I want to talk about the Andrew Brown thing, too. Okay, so like I just explained, there is actually precedent for that to happen. But also, the reason they impeached him out after office is because Mitch McConnell chose to delay bringing the articles of impeachment, the actual trial to start, until after Trump was out of office. He just didn't do his job. So if I tell you If I give you a paper and I say you have to hand this back to me, you have to hand this to somebody else. You're my landlord, and I give somebody else a check to hand to you, and they don't hand the check to you in time. Their argument can't be, "Oh, you can't impeach him because you didn't get the check on time because I stopped you from getting the check on time." That's their argument. I stopped the thing from happening on time, so you can't argue that he was falling into that thing. So I actually haven't seen this, so we're gonna watch this. Okay. Well, you see, the problem with that is they're wrong. He was impeached twice. Both times, I agree, were correct. I think the first impeachment wasn't in depth enough. Just because they believe the election was stolen doesn't mean they're right. And the reason... No, my opinion doesn't supersede anyone, but the facts supersede both of those. There is no proof, and do not bring up the Maricopa thing. The Republicans in charge of it just said they're embarrassed about it, like yesterday. The facts don't agree with the fact that it was stolen. Every single check on the system no, I don't need to see Maricopa. Even if somehow they find something, because the people who are running it, the people who are in charge of it, the people whose job it is to work with these people say they have no idea what they're doing. And these are Republicans. Also, the guy who's in charge of it has said, look, if your argument is that some of the ballots were fraudulent, then wouldn't it make sense to look at the closest race in Arizona, which was his race? He said, look, my race is the one you should be looking at if you actually believe there's fraud. And why are they only looking at the ones the Democrats won? It's because this is garbage. And they just tried to make an argument. Because they have no proof. They just tried to do that to, they just tried to run the same thing in Michigan, and a judge tossed it out. Look, you had 60 court cases to prove your case, and every single one of them lost, except for the one that said you can move 6 feet closer. There is no data. So you're going to hold on while we watch this video? They have no proof. They're trying to cover for themselves. Look, if you're looking for bamboo fibers, you have no idea what you're doing. So we're gonna watch this video, and then I'll get back to you.
Consideration. I've made the decision to oppose the House Democrats' slanted and unbalanced proposal.
Now, let's be clear. This is not the House Democrats' proposal. This is an agreed bipartisan proposal. So now John Cato can join Liz Cheney and Adam Kissinger and that's absurd. Bernie did not sell our country out. You're out of your mind. But I don't care what you don't say. I want to watch this because I'm making a point here. Then the point is more for me than to just have a discussion with you. It's for me to talk about these things. So look, Mitch McConnell is talking about this thing, and he's already starting off with a lie. This was not done bipartisan. This was not done just by Democrats. It's not slanted. We just went over what it is. It's a 50-50 split between Democrats and Republicans. The only way for them to have subpoena power is for either to have a majority vote, so they would need 6 votes on it, or for the chair and the co-chair to decide that they want to do this. Everything about this is 50-50 split, and that's a legitimate problem because there might be cases where somebody, let's say they want to subpoena McCarthy, and it's a 50-50 split. McCarthy will get a subpoena. I said this when I was talking about, yes. The legislation is a 50-50 split, and without having the chair the ability to override a 50-50 split and decide one way or another, we don't have a tiebreaker, and that's a problem with having this 50-50 split. So let's continue here.
Another commission to study the events of January the 6th. As everybody surely knows, I repeatedly made my views about the events of January the 6th very clear. I spoke clearly and left no doubt about my conclusions. Federal law enforcement have made at least 445 arrests and counting relating to crimes committed that day.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the follow. Wow.
Hundreds of those people have been charged. Law enforcement investigations are ongoing, and federal authorities say they expect to arrest at least 100 or so more. Bipartisan investigations are also underway and have been for months at the committee level here in the Senate.
This is a lie. There's no committees looking. This is the committee. There aren't committees looking into this. They're talking to the defense to figure out what's happening, but they're not like they're not like really looking into this. This would have a broader scope to look into everything that happened.
So there has been, and there will continue to be no shortage of robust investigations by two separate branches of the federal government. So, Mr. President, it's not at all clear what new facts or additional investigation yet another commission could actually lay on.
This is the only commission. There is no commission actually looking into this at all. Oh, and this would be the commission. There's no commission. You actually need to pass a law to create a commission.
On top of existing efforts by law enforcement and Congress. The facts have come out, and they'll continue to come out. What is clear is that House Democrats have handled this proposal in partisan bad faith, going right back to the beginning. From initially offering a laughably partisan starting point to continuing to insist on various other features under the hood that are designed to centralize control over the Commission's process and its conclusions in Democratic hands.
I don't even know what that means. I've looked over there is no legislation under this hood that would allow for the Democrats to control this bipartisan. There's no secret part of this. There's like 4 parts to this legislation. It's the commission is made on a 50-50 split. It's made by 5 Republicans, 5 Democrats, and they can't be current serving members. The majority leader in the House and the Senate pick the chair, and the minority leader in the House and the Senate pick the co-chair. Then, if you want to have a subpoena, you can argue for, you need a majority of the people. You need majority of those 10. You need 6, and then you need either the chair and the co-chair to decide. That's what it is. Actually, you know what? Since we have more people, I'm going to drop this link again. Give me 1 second. Oops. I'm going to give me 1 second. Give me 1 second, and then I'm going to drop the Discord link again. So if you like this here, we can start doing stuff on Discord. So feel free to join there. And let's continue from here. So look, this legislation is about as bipartisan as it could be. It is unconscionably fair to the Republicans. And the real reason they're pushing against this is because they don't want the findings to come out when they do. So the findings would come out at the end of the year, which would lead into 2022 with the results of this coming out. And if the results coming out of this are that it was actually Trump supporters, which it was because all the ones who were arrested keep saying that Donald Trump told us to do it. So if all of these are the people who were arrested and they're the ones who are pushing this, I don't know how I haven't seen anything about how this is going to be funded. But I mean the other option is if this gets blocked is I guess it would be a special counsel. And even then the last special counsel turned in it had like a 4-1 return because they took so much money off of Paul Manafort. Yeah, but you see, Dartotes, that's the problem. This is not going away is a problem because you're just grasping at straws. There's nothing there. So let's finish this.
I've been an outspoken critic about all of the episodes of political violence that our nation has seen over the past year. I support the strong existing investigations and justice for any American who's broken the law.
So the other reason they're pushing back against this is this this idea that it wasn't. Let's pull this back here. The other thing that they're pushing back against is this idea that it wasn't. No, it's not the public demanding it. It's literally not the Republic. Only the Republicans are demanding it. This only happened because they control the Arizona Senate. Where did my train of thought go? Okay, so look, the vote is going to happen. The vote is going to happen, I think, around 3, maybe. I haven't seen a time for when it starts. The legislation, we're going to see if it passes. We're going to see which people vote against this, and it's worth noting that the people who are voting against this don't want answers to this. So we're going to know exactly which Republicans and possibly Democrats, because there's what is that guy? The guy from Jersey who switched parties, Van Drew. I don't know if he's still registered Democrat. He might be officially be a Republican. They are the ones who will see if they who believes in this country, and then we're going to see. So look, here's where the real thing is. What's going to happen in the Senate? It's going to pass the House just because the Democrats have a majority, and it appears to be enough Republicans, at least moderate Republicans, who agree that this should be pushed forward. If it doesn't pass in the House, I think that kills any chance of any legislation passing. If they can't even agree to look into what happened on January 6th, they can't even agree to that, then they're going to not be able to agree on anything. There's no new KGB. It's not you have a fundamental misunderstanding of basically anything I've said. I've shown you the legislation at least 3 times now. You go back to the stream I did yesterday because I couldn't find the link again. I look at that link. It's the simple breakdown. All it says is they're looking into this. What happened here? They're not. There's no KGB. They're not creating a new government three-letter office. That's just not how this is working in any way, shape, or form. That's pretty much it. Tomorrow I'm gonna do the Andrew Brown stuff. I meant to do it today. I just kind of forgot, and I haven't really looked at it. Look, I don't know if you're like trolling or you really believe these things, but you got to get in touch with reality. So let's look at this Jubilee video. I haven't watched any of these. I've seen other people look at them. This one I've actually seen somebody else look at. The other ones aren't really like worth. I don't care about these. Social media harms liberal Christians versus conservative Christians. Well, this is like the most recent of the ones that would. Okay, so we're gonna watch this video. Well, I actually want to check something very quickly on the. Yeah, so please, if you're new to the chat, please like and follow. You can find more of my stuff on Fresh Faces New Ideas. I had one of the links to the live stream. What do you need? Or you can follow me at Twitch at Faces Ideas. Yeah, Congress approval rating has nothing to do with it. And part of the reason Congress has a poor approval rating is because they don't do the things that the Americans want. It's like 12% or something. I mean, even after an election, Congress's approval rating is like incredibly low. That's one of the things. Like Joe Biden has a true chance to allow the government to make substantial changes. Yeah, I agree. No, the reason that Congress has such a low approval rating is because they don't actually represent the people. They represent their donors. And the way to stop that is to take money out of politics. And even the ones who don't represent their donors, like we've seen in Missouri, where they put a ballot measure on. They said, do you want Medicare to be expanded? And the American people in Missouri said yes. And then the Missouri Republicans said, no, fuck you. They said, you don't know what you're talking about. This is going to cost the state too much. Even though you decided to vote for it, we're not going to do it. And it cost them like 5% of the total cost. Everything else is covered by the federal government. So the reason Congress has a low approval rating is because it hasn't done the things that people want. There are things that are overwhelmingly popular that we don't do. Universal background checks. No. There's so much wrong with that. January 6th should bother you because it shows that if you lie to a group of people enough, they will turn violent. I'm not 88. First off, that your statistic for me being 88% wrong doesn't make sense because that implies that I'm Congress. And I'm not Congress, if you've noticed. Because if I was Congress, we would have a lot better country. So let's go to this Jubilee video because I'm kind of interested in watching the entirety of this.
But first, here is middle ground: free speech versus censorship.
This was like a month ago, 2 months ago.
Take, for example, like white supremacy. They don't go away because you censored them.
Are they going to stop being a white supremacist? I don't give a f. I do feel safer.
So this will go back to
tech platforms play a big part in facilitating hate today.
one of the conversations we had in one of my earlier streams, which was about tech censorship. So that's what this video is going to be about. It's a little bit older because this came out around a little more than 2 months ago. Are you an anarchist? Or are you a libertarian? The answer is not abolish government because it doesn't do what I want. The answer is to get people who do what I want in government and change how the government is functioned so that it represents your interests. Wait, there's still a government. It still exists. It just captured by it's controlled by crony capitalism. And that's why the corporations buy it, and that's why the only Republican idea for the last 40 years has been tax cuts.
Twitter specifically has banned a number of different conservative accounts, not just the president.
They can do whatever they want. They're private businesses.
I think that people should be able to say whatever they want online. However, I think that there should also be consequences.
The president of one of the most powerful countries in the world doesn't have access to social media.
I think platforms have a right to moderate content.
We really have to be able to discern who gets a voice and what they're able to say.
We need people in the conservative field to fight for our right to be conservative.
As somebody who has experienced censorship, it ends up generating these chambers in which these ideas go completely unchallenged.
And everybody kind of has to ask themselves, should everybody really be able to say what they want to say?
So the other thing is that this is going to bring up the tolerance paradox. How tolerant are we going to be to certain views? Personally, I don't think Nazis should have a voice. And I can't imagine that's a contentious argument. I don't think supremacists should have a voice, whether you're a white supremacist or you're a black supremacist. But you should not be able to expel these type of ideas. Yes, the government has failed. And I've explained to you a number of times now why. It has failed partly for two reasons. No. You have the freedom to think what you want. The difference is certain ideologies are too inherently violent to spread, because when you spread them, you end up things like Christ Church. You end up things like, was El Paso the one at Walmart? I think El Paso was the one at Walmart. You end up with No, look, freedom of speech is the protection of speech you don't like, but it's not the protection of consequences from those speeches. So if you're advocating for violence, if you're advocating for violence and then things happen because of the things you're saying, you should be held accountable. It's called stochastic terrorism. So let's watch this video.
Hi, I'm Leah Thomas. I am a writer and the founder of Intersectional Environmentalists, which is an online environmental media hub.
Hi, I'm Lawrence. I'm a public policy analyst for San Bernardino County.
Hi, I'm Bennett Kelly. I'm the founder of the Internet Law Center, and I'm an attorney who represents victims of online harassment.
I'm Michael. I'm 30. I'm conservative, and I work in finance.
My name is Jerome. I'm a political science student. I am 21, and I'm originally from Massachusetts.
Hello, I'm Joseph. I'm a
All right, but how are you going to prevent them? The only way to prevent something like that is, So here's where the paradox comes in. You have to weigh whether or not the people that they will sway to their argument, because I've seen part of this, and I'm telling you, one of these guys used to have like either white nationalist or Nazi ideology. It's this guy.
Media hub.
Hi, I'm Lawrence. I'm a public policy analyst for San Bernardino County.
Hi, I'm Bennett Kelly. I'm the founder of the Internet Law Center, and I'm an attorney who represents victims of online harassment.
I'm Michael. I'm 30. I'm conservative, and I work in finance.
My name is Jerome.
This one. He's going to admit later in this that he was in one of these like Nazi platforms. And look, the problem is it's much simpler for them, and they're much better at changing people's minds to their hateful ideology. And the problem is you have to be careful to what platform you give them, because then you give... No. Just because you see and hear them doesn't mean you can know what they're doing next. They're very good at reaching out and citing things. Look at Richard Spencer. Richard Spencer is a Nazi. He's an accepted Nazi. I look, the tolerance paradox comes into this. I think especially for private companies, they're allowed to have TOS. I have rules on my Discord if you go to it, which I'll link again. If you go to it about certain things, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna be very tight with the Nazi speech. It's not gonna be an open season for them. So let's continue this.
I'm a political science student. I am 21, and I'm originally from Massachusetts.
Oh, before we go to this, very quickly, if you're new, or you're just watching, just chilling, drop a follow, drop a comment, follow me on YouTube at Fresh Faces New Ideas, or at Twitter at Faces Ideas. And at some point I'm going to learn how to speak. But yeah, look, I hope you guys are enjoying the stream. I'm going to keep doing this, and I'm going to just get better at it, and then I'll make the streams better as time goes on. But yeah, coming to the Discord too now. So here is, we're going to continue.
Joseph, I'm an accountant, and I'm working towards my CPA, and I'm a part-time poker player.
The prompt is, the right is more censored than the left.
Okay, yes. The problem is you have to spend a good amount of time. Look, I agree with this thought. This is very similar to Vash's line of thinking, is that the best way to deal with them is to mock them out of existence. The problem is they always understand where they can target young, angry people, because they understand where the political climate is and they know which groups they can go after. And it also takes people a good amount of time to understand where to go after and go after their arguments. So you have to understand all of their arguments in order to make them look ridiculous. And not all the people who allow them to be platformed have the ability to do this. So if you don't understand all, and they're going to throw, obviously, as you back them into a corner and as you mock them out of existence, they'll create other ideas. No, I'm saying that they shouldn't be able to, look, there shouldn't be no TOS. And maybe I didn't say this as well as I should have. There should be limits onto what people can say. There should not, especially on the internet, there should not be a free speech propaganda, whatever you want. The more, you have to have some rules, and these rules need to be enforced. Yes, ultimately the best way to deal with them is to talk to them and talk them out of it. But there is plenty of data showing that if you deplatform them, it also has a noticeable impact on them as well. Look at Alex Jones. Alex Jones's impact has dropped massively since he's been deplatformed. So you can actually deplatform them and it can be effective. But if you're going to be one of those people who is going to interact with them, you have to have an understanding of what they're arguing, and you have to have an understanding of what they're saying and how to counteract their craziness. No, I don't think Alex Jones is a Nazi, but he is a lunatic who has caused stochastic terrorism from it. But he is the example. I mean, the other example is Milo Yiannopoulos. I brought Alex Jones up for an example of how deplatforming works.
I
I mean, we think it's obvious, right?
Yeah, I'm assuming most of us are conservative-ish, in that spectrum, but I think that a lot has happened during the January 6th riots. That's why we see it more, and that's why it's more big of a problem now.
Parler can't even be on the App Store, or,
Except you're not taking into account that he is no longer able to infect people with his ideology. So it is twofold. I'm very clear about this. You should deplatform the most egregious ones of them. And if you're going to argue with them, and try to prove them wrong, you have to have a further understanding. That's the separation. If you're going to be somebody who goes against them and is going to take the route of mocking them out of existence or trying to change people's minds, you have to understand all of their arguments and how to debunk them. However, there are ones of them who just push things where they should not be. The more you platform them, the damage that they do is greater than the ability of other people to counteract them, because the people around them don't care. So it doesn't matter that Alex Jones is perpetually wrong about everything. He's caused stochastic terrorism in the past. It's been a problem. It's been a legitimate issue.
Trump got kicked off Twitter. He's the leader of the free world, basically, at least for the U.S., and he doesn't even have access to a social media platform.
I think there was Twitter, which was left-leaning, long before there was something like Parler.
So, look, what they're saying here is different. I've talked about this before. Donald Trump being removed from Twitter is an issue because Twitter is not following their own guidelines. If Twitter followed a set of guidelines for TOS for every world leader, then it would be different. Because they singled him out, they made it more of a problem. Yes, Donald Trump habitually broke the TOS on Twitter. Habitually. Over and over again. They had to create new things for him because of the things he was doing. So your choices are either strictly follow TOS and apply it to all world leaders, or don't follow TOS for any world leader. You can't half-ass it.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I think that these echo chambers that are created as a result of censorship are a reaction. They're reactionary.
No. You see, the thing is, the people who are already able to understand that he's a dumbass know that. The echo chamber that he has his own. No, that's actually not true. You have not. Look, first off, I think you just missed what I was saying. Donald Trump did not get stronger from that. The conservatives started crying harder, but Donald Trump has not been too strong. Do you know how much online chatter about Donald Trump has dropped since he's been removed from Twitter and Office? 90%. There's a 90% drop in talking about Donald Trump since he's no longer in office and no longer on Twitter. He's actually grown incredibly weaker. And like I said, the issue with Twitter banning him is not because it's going to grow his strength. It's because they weren't following their own rules. So they either follow their own rules for everybody, or they follow their own rules for nobody.
They're not necessarily, they wouldn't exist by themselves if right-leaning people weren't being censored.
Yeah.
I guess I disagree, because usually when I think of conservatives, I do think of the party of law and order. Mm-hmm. So that was definitely something that Trump spoke about often, like there are consequences to your actions. Maybe more people could read the terms and conditions and find a platform that they feel more comfortable with, like Parler, 4chan.
But what Trump said wasn't really as bad as what I've seen other Democrats say.
Well, I guess to not deflect, what should be the appropriate consequences when someone violates the terms and conditions?
I think it should be like a clear punishment, right? It shouldn't be a punishment, like especially for like being kicked off. It should be for everybody. Yeah. But if that is the solution, that has to be the solution for everybody.
So No Name, Sean King are two of the most prominent.
That's cool. Crowd sizes don't mean dick. Because I don't know if you know this, but 7 million more people voted for Joe Biden. And I don't think he's going to go out and campaign. I know that was his favorite part of being in office, but I don't believe he's running again. If he does, he's going to use it as a grifting tool.
Left-leaning activists that I know of. And they have been repeatedly banned from Twitter, suspended from Facebook, Instagram kicked them off.
So look, this is the good argument. This is how you know the argument is different for left versus right being service. The left does get censored more than the right. The difference is the right cries a lot harder. Josh Hawley spent like a week going on multiple Fox News networks, basically to promote his book that he said he was canceled over. The difference is not the number of people censored. Well, it is. It is more people censored on the right statistically. More people censored on the left statistically. The difference is the right cries harder. They bitch about it more. They'll go on national they'll go on Tucker Carlson, the most watched news network in the country, and they'll say, Tucker, I'm here because I am no longer allowed to speak publicly. I am a U.S. Senator who can speak on the floor of the Senate at any point. I'm currently on this national televised show. I'm currently going to go to other national televised shows. I'm going to write op-eds, but I have been silenced permanently. It's fucking ridiculous.
And then when it happens to Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro, we hear conservative voices are but it's the exact same thing that was happening on the left that's now happening on the right. So I think the problem is the conservatives that believe this rhetoric is being suppressed, I don't think they know the other side is dealing with the same thing.
There's no real history of which I'm aware of left-leaning creators being blacklisted the way that guys like Alex Jones, James Woods, Donald Trump have been.
Yeah.
Alex Jones was on this journalistic scene for 30 years, and they erased all 30 years of that.
How about the White House YouTube channel? They eliminated all of Trump's videos, all of them.
Do you not see the difference, though? Because Sean King says abolish the police, and say Alex Jones, for example, says Jewish people own most of the property in America, and if you want to deal with property owners, deal primarily with Jewish people in 2015. So obviously there's a stark difference in rhetoric. And
see, this is the problem. The other thing is, it's the high-profile cases that make the most complaints, and then they try to compare things that aren't comparable. You don't compare the things that they say. Like when people like Alex Jones get kicked off, he got kicked off for a good reason. He was causing the families of the which one was it? It was the Sandy Hook family. He was causing people to harass them because he constantly and repeatedly spread the lie that their children weren't actually murdered. People like that should not be given platforms. In the same way that Marjorie Taylor Greene should not be in Congress, because the things she believes, first off, are lunacy. But they also are advocating for violence.
Consequence even. You call the virus Kung Flu, and then a rise in violence against Asian Americans.
But who called it Kung Flu?
President Trump.
Did he say it directly, though?
Yes. Very directly.
He tweeted it, yeah.
He tweeted
so
it?
He said it.
There are reasons for the differences in consequences, but I think if we understand that it's happening widespread, because I've seen people on the left say, kill cops, permanently banned, permanently done.
Right.
So I think we have to take
Who?
a step back.
Alex
to
Jones
move
isn't on
ourselves from
YouTube.
the box that we're in and kind of, okay, is it happening over here too?
There's ideas that exist on and offline that are abominable, that I disavow unequivocally, but that I subscribed to when I was younger.
See, this is what I was talking
When I was younger, didn't understand what I was necessarily looking at, didn't have enough worldview or perspective to know that these were not good ideas. But because that they were censored by the forums that I was espousing them in, I never had the opportunity to have them challenged. I would never have the opportunity to have a conversation about why these were bad ideas. There was no purveyance of the ideological free market, and that's really the only way for these ideas to go away. Take, for example, like white.
Okay, so I don't really watch a lot of Tim Pool, but I know Joe Rogan, Spotify gave him $100 million and he can say whatever he wants. There's a lot of I think people are paying more attention to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, I think, is actually friends with Alex Jones. The problem with Joe Rogan is different than censorship. Tim Pool also is not genuine anyway. He argues that he's a liberal when he's clearly a Republican. He was. How did that 50 state landslide work out for you? But look, they're not the same.
Supremacy. People who have those beliefs don't go away when you ban them from platforms. Those beliefs don't go away when you tell them to shut up. Those beliefs don't go away when you punch them in the face, or when you revoke their rally permits.
But when do we draw the line? Because if somebody, let's use Kung Flu, for example, what I said earlier. Let's say it's Alex Jones that says, oh, this is a Chinese virus. They brought it here. And then we see a rise in hate crimes against Asian Americans. When do we draw the line? Because he would still have the platform.
Yeah, I don't think we should deprive the people who are actually committing these crimes of the agency in committing them.
Right.
They are doing that, and they frankly would be doing that regardless of whether or not there was somebody who was using inflammatory rhetoric online. That's exactly my point when I say these ideas don't go away.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, look, that's why but YouTube banning people is a totally different thing. They have their own version, and they have a lot of problems with who they ban anyway and demonetize. That's a separate issue. The issue is when you give these people a megaphone, subsegments of the people that listen to them are going to do things that are dangerous because of the type of rhetoric that they're using.
you feed those ideas, you build the anger.
So for example, if you
Right.
ban a white supremacist or a huge white supremacist group from Twitter, there's still probably going to be white supremacists chilling and hanging out outside of Twitter.
Right.
But it would be harder for that white supremacist group on that platform to inflict harm towards black folks, right? Because
Right.
then I do feel safer. So if I'm being harassed by a white supremacist group or someone who's saying that black people don't deserve to live, I do feel safer as a user. Are they going to stop being a white supremacist? I don't give a fuck. I don't care. They can do whatever the fuck they want to do. That's their free speech. However, it does make me feel a lot safer.
I just think the left is now catching more up to us and realizing that the censorship is happening, and then now it's kind of touching their side too more. And maybe with Sean King, you see it. You know, I've definitely seen it pick up more in the past few months on both sides.
With the left,
Yeah.
the example I gave was from 2014.
I know.
That's
but
been
even
around
so.
for a while, even when you're looking at
So
the
here's
civil
the thing.
rights
What he
movement.
said is the exact opposite. It's not that no, because if you first off, those other platforms are just lunacy. They don't have the type of range that some of these platforms have. Yes, she could have left. But the problem is when you have these type of people, they congregate further and they start harassing them. So if she starts, it only takes a couple of them to realize that these people are being blocked for them to start producing. Yeah, I'm in my mid-20s.
and you're looking at the literal burning down of civil rights headquarters and things like that. My parents and my grandparents and my great-grandparents in the civil rights movement were continuously policed and harassed for their beliefs, violently so, jailed for their beliefs. So I find it almost,
Hey, I'm not
it's
boosted.
hard for me to
Welcome.
compare when civil rights folks.
Oh, I do actually have
are
a
in
question for
prison
you
and killed for their
about the
beliefs.
Discord, but I'll
However,
DM you
because
about
a
it later.
conservative can't use Twitter, I'm supposed to feel bad.
Well, I don't think there's a comparison. What I wonder is whether or not there is a leftist ideologue, someone who is similar to Alex Jones or someone like that was blackballed from 6 social media platforms over the course of 12 hours.
Who? On the left, it doesn't really happen at all. Look at what they admonish, like abolish police, give everybody health care. Like, what in that world, what in that realm would be like, you're done. You don't need to, you're talking about killing people.
We're saying burn it all down this summer during the riots.
Buildings, but that's not, it's
But
not
that's
people.
still people's property. You know, they saved their
That's
whole
violence.
savings. 2 billion damages as a country. We need to say that violence is bad. Burning people's, stuff is bad.
And killing
I think we need to give perspective to
unarmed
it.
people
Yeah, it
is
has to be
bad, too.
context. Yeah, because we can't say burning buildings is bad and then not understand the reason as to why they're burning. I don't agree with burning them, but we kind of got to give context to both. We can't.
Right, this is the big problem with this. This guy and her are much more aware of what's happening than these guys. These are like three random Republicans they found. They're like, hey, do you think Republicans are being censored? Do you want to talk about it? And they're like, yeah, sure, what the fuck? But they don't really have arguments. Like, their arguments are ridiculous.
Say, this is all terrible.
I don't want to be anecdotal about this, but at the same, so my parents are immigrants. They.
Okay, so I do remember MySpace. I remember when Facebook. Look, I'm a little older than you think. I remember not having internet all the time when I was growing up. So MySpace was sold off and then beaten by something better. Twitter is not going to ban itself out of existence. There's no way it's going to lose the popularity that it has because of just how the platform is designed. Facebook is different. Facebook might end up being regulated, and that might cause a problem. But these other echo chambers, Twitter has its own different echo chambers. It's varied based on how you can curate your content. YouTube has its own, or Facebook has its own echo chambers as well. But that's on purpose. The thing is, with these things like Parler, they'll cycle through themselves because a large part of the people who are there to own the libs. And then when they realize that they're not there, they're going to turn into toxic cesspools and then just like burn themselves out. This happens every single time they have one of these type of sites. They end up as 8chan. It's not a competition thing. Also, they're so massive that they just squash competition anyway.
For everything that they have. My mom, she came from a family of 6, and they didn't have a lot when they came to this country. And each of their siblings, including my mom, they had to work for everything that they have, and they made something of themselves. So and then we also have rental properties. So if one of them burned down because of a riot, that's our life savings right there. We put a lot of money into that.
Do you know, so I guess let's take it back to the civil rights movement, because usually I think the future sometimes is a better indicator of what's like morally right and wrong. I lived about 10 minutes from Ferguson and was there when those buildings were burning down, and it was incredibly terrifying. But I also remember the business owners who said, I can replace my windows. What I can't replace is a lost child. So hearing those business owners, hearing them, I can talk about them hypothetically and how I hypothetically think they might feel, but I also can talk about people who had their own buildings burned down.
And people who do say that they're on like, the Black Lives Matter side, of course.
Not necessarily, a lot of them are white.
But at the same time, like I go back to business because, I'm an accountant, I care about the numbers and all that stuff. But
and I care about Black lives. I care about lives.
We all care about Black lives, but also too, like a lot of misinformation was spread about those riots too. too, with the hands up, don't shoot. They said that he was facing backwards, and they found out that he wasn't, and he didn't have his hands up.
You talking about last year? Or?
No,
Talking about Michael Brown. That's what started this.
Yeah.
Let's just not
Well,
get
and then
into
they're
that.
spreading the misinformation, and then it also.
And also, if you'd like to have the perspective, so I was there that day,
Yeah.
unfortunately, and we can talk about censorship. So after he was killed, he was on the ground for 4 hours. Our radio stations were turned off, and our news stations were turned off. So we didn't have information as to what was going on, which I
So you
agree
don't like the
allowed
censorship.
misinformation to spread.
Exactly.
However, to say that. So no, I'm not agreeing with you, but I'm saying maybe like know what the people in that community were faced with before
Yeah.
speaking on something that you don't
No,
know.
it's terrible. That's terrible. The censorship of those radio stations is awful, and I think it contributed to a lot of
misinformation.
Not
That's
just
why
not
people
just misinformation,
flocked and
but
went downtown.
pain and destruction that happened within those communities because people weren't being given the information they were entitled to.
Yeah.
You know, I think that in itself is an argument.
No, I don't agree with that. I mean, they still have the point of insurance. But if you look at the totality of the protests, this idea that they were all just incredibly violent and that they were all just destructive and that everyone in them was violent and just looting and rioting is just not objectively true. It just isn't. And the looting and the rioting was denounced. It was denounced by the people in the protest. It was denounced by people on both sides. But it was not all just instigated by the people who were at the protest. Nobody opened. I don't think there was examples of people opening their doors to burn them down.
It's against censorship for sure.
Tech companies should be allowed to ban whoever they want.
It's a hard one, honestly, because is it whoever, just based on what they deem is wrong? Like, I don't know.
You know, I worked in a country club once, and they had this strict dress code for employees and even for members. I mean, you could, as long as it's legal.
Right, that's the one caveat. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't say no Jews, no
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
or, yeah.
Right. I mean, as long as they have a set terms and conditions, then yeah, they can ban whoever they want. They shouldn't just ban whoever, you know.
Well, I think they should be able to say, okay, you're done, even if it doesn't necessarily impede on the terms and conditions.
Basically, I think what we're having is a free market response, saying they let them do what they want and let consumers go where they are, but you have to have a functioning free market where people can go somewhere else.
But they can't right now, though. That's the problem.
Who wouldn't be able to go somewhere?
Parler being removed from the App
Apps
Store.
on web services and
But-
App Store, and basically it's an antitrust law kind of thing, because basically they're trying to create a monopoly between all the social media like Twitter and Facebook. And
Yeah.
I think that's what I read off of it.
I've actually talked to an owner of one platform who says they do more to combat hate speech on a per person basis than some of the larger entities, but they still can't get picked up on Apple and the Google
Right.
Play.
That's my
And,
problem.
the market isn't functioning properly then.
Like, okay, should Twitter have the leader of Hezbollah be on Twitter? They're listed as a terror group by the EU and the U.S.
Well, they've been,
He's still on
and
Twitter.
they've been sued over that.
I mean, have they? Yeah, I was gonna say, have they?
And they've been sued over that, but as long as the tweets aren't promoting terror or violating
It's
the
also a
terms,
political
that's
party.
It
That's the
is.
thing. Hezbollah is a political party in Lebanon.
I know Bin Laden's dead, but if he were alive and he made a Twitter and he didn't tweet anything that violated the terms and conditions, to his point, wouldn't they be able to still stay on the platform?
This is
I think that
I
I think that should be fair, because
I
you
don't
need.
think-
Well, I mean, not necessarily. I want Osama bin Laden.
I agree. They should just ban them.
Maybe match.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that, like, if they have a set guidelines and set rules, they shouldn't, like, and they follow them, then why would you kick them off in the first place?
I mean, if it violates their terms and conditions, I think they can ban whoever they want. But I guess just a hypothetical, if all of a sudden they were like, we don't want to see breastfeeding, so we're going to ban everyone just because we want to. Technically they can, because they're a private, business entity, but I guess morally it kind of rubs me the wrong way.
I want to agree, but I feel like if I do agree, then I feel like I would be giving social media and tech companies far too much importance.
Right.
You know, people exist without social media. I don't think if you ban somebody, that's like a morally egregious act.
I think you'd be shocked the number of people, especially like my age and younger, who get their news exclusively from social media.
Yeah, but this
We're
is not
worried
a.
about it.
All right, so this is actually an argument for regulation. If you allow them to just to be in these websites and just that's where they get their news from, that's a problem if they're not considered, if they're not vetting the news. So you have to figure out how to make sure that they're vetting the news in a way that makes it acceptable for people. They can't just be lying about everything. And that's actually the next question that they'll get to.
Is that the algorithms of these companies do not incentivize nuance.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time you see, like, what trends is what is getting clicks, and a lot of the time that's controversy.
But
you know?
sometimes too, though, they artificially put things that are trending up there that really aren't.
Well, the problem is, it's
Yeah.
the Wizard of Oz.
Reddit
Maybe
did
you
that
haven't
and
heard.
Twitter does that too.
We don't know what those algorithms are, but there are suspicions that they are trying to fuel conflict.
Right.
And conflict creates clicks, which creates comments, which creates engagement. And so in some ways, social media is dividing us.
All
as much
right,
as it
we're going to
is
skip through
bringing
this
people
one
together
because
with
the
this
next
big
one is more
platform.
important. So this is spreading lies should be protected as free speech. No. The conservatives are going to agree with this because when you look at the party that produces more fake news, it's objectively the conservatives.
Be protected as free speech.
So we're all going to watch this segment and then we'll see who else is on. Maybe we'll
My
rate some.
thing here is that I think we have to be very attentive to who we make the arbiter of the truth.
When I think about lies and like people's lies, you know, I think about people's truths, you know, people's perspective, people's opinions, and you know that should be protected in that sense because if you feel something and you believe in something or you have an opinion on something, that is your truth. That is, well, maybe to some people it's a lie, maybe to most of the people it's a lie, but that's
So here's the problem with what he's saying there. What he's saying there is that if I believe it is true, therefore it is true, and you can't argue against me. That's just fundamentally not how truth works. If what you're saying is objectively fact-based a lie, it is a lie. Donald Trump won the election is a lie.
your truth, and you have the right to say your truth, right? When Donald Trump started this campaign of, you know, the election was rigged, he actually does believe that. That is his truth. It seemed like a lie to a lot of people on the left, and probably some people on the right. But he has the right to say that. You know, there's nothing in the Constitution, there's no law saying.
Well, the question that begs is who says whether it's a lie?
Yeah.
Who decides it's a lie?
Yeah, who's the arbiter, like you said.
If we allow lies to be spread as part of like a free speech, then we have what we have now currently is, I think 500,000 people now died of coronavirus. And a lot of them died on account of just lies. You know, if you wear a mask, you know, you can't breathe in it. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to social distance. This is a liberal hoax. So if we protect lies in the realm of free speech, they have real life, real time consequences.
You know, we protect people from certain things that are dangerous. And if I said, take this placebo, don't, because it'll cure cancer, and people did that and died, that would be dangerous.
Theoretically, you would be liable, correct?
I would be liable
If you
too,
use your
yes.
credentials to say, drink this and it will cure your cancer, and
Right.
someone did that, you would be liable.
But would CBS give me airtime for a commercial for that? No.
We complain as conservatives that there's not enough fact checkers that are on the right. There's Snopes, there's fact check, they're on the left, but there needs to be someone to take to.
Snopes is on the left?
Oh, yeah.
How does the fact check become?
Yeah,
The owner,
The facts are.
donates.
Last I checked, facts.
Yeah,
Well, if
Yeah,
they're
see,
actually-
this is the ultimate question. Their argument is, oh, well, if you're on the left, they're going to fact checks for the left, and then you're going to hate the right. We need more right-wing fact checkers. No, we need fact checkers who are objectively for the truth. That's the difference.
fact check.
Well,
yeah.
are there any that you all support that we could look into, or do you think that's something that Republicans could try to
That's
make
what
more
I mean.
think
There needs to
tanks?
be.
I personally think that Snopes and Politico are by and large very accurate. I think oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you continue, please.
No, I think that they're by and large very accurate, but I think as with literally any media source, I mean, you can't look at, there's nothing that will be the unequivocal truth.
Right.
There's nothing, you know, so you need to like look at,
things
I
are
mean, well, you need to
based
look
on
at it and know that
scientific
it's being written
method.
from a
Yeah.
place of bias. Oh, I mean, sure, like hydroxychloroquine is not gonna like cure you of COVID.
Right,
You know,
but that's not liberal or conservative, that's just true.
It's stupid or
I guess
not stupid.
It depends. It depends. It depends if it's like an opinion, and then it also depends if people, like politicians, love throwing out different statistics and studies and things like that. And I was like,
Right.
well,
So this is where the true breakdown comes into it. It's what are you fact checking and how are you fact checking? If it's a science thing, it's either true or it isn't. If it's like a if it's political, it gets a little different. But you can still fact check it. The problem is the current way the media exists is it doesn't do both. It does both sides. Not this side is objectively true and this side is objectively false.
sciencey person, I do believe in the scientific method for the most part, and I think that things should be tested over and over and over again. And I think providing those, like if a politician is saying a statistic, I think there should be some sort of fact-checking body. However, I am totally on board with there being a fact-checking body that is, say, 50% Republican, 50% Democrat. I think that's totally fine.
Okay, I have a problem with that. We're gonna end this here. So we're gonna go back to this. So look. We've discussed this a couple times. You don't have the right to say anything. For when it comes to fact checking, it is the facts, not a side. Pick a side. If it turns out that your side is being fact checked more often and they're wrong, it's because your side is objectively lying. So quick plug one more time. Give me 1 second to grab that link again, and then. This is for the Discord. So feel free to hop into that. Also, you can obviously hit the follow button here if you like what I'm saying. You can follow me on YouTube at Fresh Faces New Ideas, and you can follow me on Twitter at Faces Ideas. So usually I'm going to start streaming probably tomorrow between 12:30 and 1-ish. Tomorrow might be a little closer to 1. And I think, if there's things you want me to cover, we can cover it. I think I'm going to do the Andrew Brown stuff tomorrow and then probably the fallout from this vote. But it's worth remembering that we've discussed this vote before. This legislation is unbelievably fair to Republicans. And they're going to decide to not go with the truth. So please, thank you all for watching. I hope you had a good time.